Significant flooding ongoing in parts of our area right now. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi, my friends. Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather. It's nice to see you for this latest video. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, we've had significant rainfall in portions of the area. We're going to highlight that, the problems that still exist and will continue to be an issue for some of the area. I've got your island by island rainfall forecast. And of course, it's still November. We're going to continue to talk about the tropics. As always, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Wind, hail, hurricane damage, property damage of any kind, they can walk you through that insurance claim process. Folks, all you got to do is go to leanonmelaw.com for more information. As always, love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments section below what's been happening in your area. Appreciate the MM weather community keeping me apprised of the situation in your area. We'll start off with our surface analysis. So we have a couple of weak troughs that are moving through the Eastern Caribbean and the Western Atlantic Basin. But this has been a focusing mechanism for some very heavy rainfall in portions of the Lesser Antilles, including Barbados over the weekend and early this week. We have a trough with a broad area of low pressure in the Western Caribbean, which is also enhancing some rainfall from time to time, and a cold front moving through the northeastern Gulf and the Western Atlantic. This, though, not going to have as much of an impact as the last front. Very little in the way of temperature change and wind, even as far north as the Bahamas. Switch over to our high-resolution visible satellite imagery. Let's get into the areas of interest for today. We continue to see this shear line, and you can notice that clouds are moving in different directions at different levels of the atmosphere across the Eastern Caribbean. There's a fair amount of lift in the atmosphere, and some of this rain has been quite concentrated, especially Saturday and Sunday over portions of the area. Right over Barbados has been a problem. They've had nearly over 9 inches of rain in some of the northern parishes of Barbados that started Saturday through this Monday. Now, the island was under a flash flood warning. Some of that heaviest rain has broken apart a little bit as we've moved through this Monday. This is what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery. You can see some of that fading away a bit, but there still is the opportunity for additional heavy rain, at least in some areas, late Monday and early on Tuesday. So for Barbados, we have a flash flood watch. It's been downgraded from a warning, but it's still a flash flood watch for Barbados through Tuesday morning. Again, 9 inches of rain, or 225 millimeters, have fallen in the past few days, mainly in the northern parishes. This has caused some big time problems, especially when you're talking about some of that rain falling in the higher elevations of the island and then getting back down to those low-lying areas. So runoff from higher elevations has been a big issue. We've had soil erosion, we have water on roadways, and we have water level rises in some of the existing water tables. So if you live on Barbados, let me know in the comment section below how you guys are holding up. If you've had any flooding in your area, take a picture and send it to me at mymeteomundo@gmail.com, just like Cheryl did. This is from Barbados. Very stormy. I mean, look at all of that significant moisture in the atmosphere. That's that glow that you see from some of those low-lying clouds. Again, just really heavy tropical downpours concentrated over some of the island, producing significant flash flooding in some spots. Friends, overall, it should start to get better later Monday and then overnight and into Tuesday, but still, some of the problems are out there from the rain that has already fallen over the weekend as well. Now, we'll kick up the sea conditions as well. There'll be some marine advisories. We have a hazardous sea advisory for the northern side of Tobago. Again, it's just been somewhat active. Now, the rain hasn't been as prominent in other islands here in the Windward Islands and even the Lesser Antilles in general. Compared to Barbados, it was like that was the focusing mechanism. But TNT has had some showers and a few rumbles of thunder. Same thing for Grenada, the Grenadines, St. Vincent, St. Lucia up towards Martinique. But a live look outside to Corinth, St. Lucia, and it is a completely different story somewhat. We've had some passing showers in St. Lucia, but compared to Barbados, things have been a lot quieter here. Beautiful late afternoon in Corinth. Again, get a lot of passing shower here, but more dry hours and locations in this part part of the world. Swinging our way to the north, I have wind gusts on, so despite the fact we've had some locally heavy downpours from time to time, we haven't had really any significant winds for the most part. Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, a passing shower, a rumble of thunder. Montserrat, Antigua Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba St. Eustatius, St. Bart, St. Martin, and Anguilla. Weak trough off to the north and to the east. It's kind of ill-defined on this infrared satellite imagery. You can see a piece of it here, but it's going to be moving back into the area. This should enhance the rainfall in this area in general. And look, even back down to the Leeward Islands, this time of the year, the intertropical convergence zone gets more active and at least tries to kick impulses of energy, not in an organized tropical fashion, but trying to throw more tropical moisture back into the eastern Caribbean from time to time. And, you know, overall, rain chances will stay somewhat elevated in these spots, some fast moving showers, and rain chances for the Leeward Islands are likely to go higher in the next day or two, and that will include the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico as well, where we've had a few passing showers for today, but many dry hours and locations. What do you say we take a look at the live radar here out of Puerto Rico? And there is the extremely spotty rain. I mean, this is it in a nutshell, guys. You're going to get a couple of spots of rain passing through the islands fairly quickly. But again, more dry hours than wet hours. Nothing to stop you from being outside, but from time to time, can you get a good downpour like they're seeing on the northern sides of St. Thomas and just west of Joost Van Dyke? Absolutely. Could you get some local heavy rain develop in interior sections of Puerto Rico near the Ulti Alto area? Sure. Could there be some heavier rain? And there has been in portions of the Dominican Republic as well, but it's just a little bit more spotty overall. This is sunrise from ER in St. Thomas. Again, a beautiful shot there. So starting off the day on the quieter side with some building passing showers and some breezy conditions from time to time. And then we see the live look outside to Joost Van Dyke in the British Virgin Islands. These are from our friends at the Soggy Dollar Bar there on Joost Van Dyke. Beautiful shot. Again, you can see some of the clouds in the distance, but it has been very, very nice. They've enjoyed a lovely afternoon there. We appreciate our friends at the Soggy Dollar Bar allowing us to use their live camera to help tell the weather story in their area. All right, back over to the weather computer here. I'm going to drop off the radar out of Puerto Rico, and we'll continue to move on here. Now, I mentioned the Dominican Republic and Haiti. This is an area that has had some heavy rain, and we do have a few flood advisories and flood concerns for portions of the Dominican Republic. Nothing has been extremely concentrated on this Monday, but again, we've had some localized downpours from time to time over the weekend, especially in some of the higher terrain, and that has led to some, again, potential issues in some of the lower areas. It's nice to see, though, it's been a little bit quieter today to kind of drop that overall risk generally as we go through the short term. Now, I mentioned that trough, right, in that area of low pressure near the Cayman Islands. This is what appreciably it's doing right now. It's kicking off some showers and storms on the northern side of the Cayman Islands, Little Cayman, Cayman Brac, shoving them off towards the east, the eastern sides and the southeast sides of Cuba, from the Santiago de Cuba area on over towards Guantanamo. We could get a passing shower over Jamaica as well, building some cloud coverage in at the time here late on this Monday. And again, this could ramp up a little bit more. Everything is likely to move west to east, so it's a slightly different pattern overall. When I show you guys the surface winds out of this area, let me take a second here and bring this up real quick. Also make this a little bit bigger so you guys can actually see it here. So you notice that you do have a lot of twists in the atmosphere here, right? It's somewhat disorganized, but winds are kind of all over the place. So that could pin some localized heavier showers and storms because the winds at the lower levels are very erratic. But overall, they've been relatively calmer here the last couple of days. And then you get farther to the north into the Bahamas and things have been quite lovely. Now, there is a cold front that is working its way into the northern Bahamas as we speak. That is that blue line that you see. It's about ready to move into Walker's Key and Grand Bahama, towards Bimini and the Abacos. But friends, this front has very appreciable or very little change that I expect. I don't expect it to be a big drop in temperatures. You notice here that outside of that rogue number in Fort Lauderdale, temperatures north of the boundary in Florida aren't much cooler than what they are seeing south of the boundary. The biggest thing, it's going to reinforce the drier air. It's going to continue to drop the humidity and provide quite pleasant mornings and comfortable afternoons, where daytime highs in places like Freeport and Nassau are likely to stay in the upper 70s with low humidity, Can't rule out a little shower developing here or there, but so many dry hours and locations for the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos for the time being. Live look outside to Governor's Harbor there in central Eleuthera. Again, we have our live cameras here at Meteo Mundo help tell the weather story. What a gorgeous shot. I mean, literally nothing but sunshine out there, and there's even drier air on the way. So this is just a reinforcing push of some of that drier air that's already been in place across most of the Bahamas here over the last few days, and we're going to continue to get a lovely forecast here through midweek. Now again, you can see some of the blow up of thunderstorms along this trough line. That's what that orange line is, and again, a very broad area of low pressure. Now because on course with an area of low pressure, you have counterclockwise winds. When you get west of that, you actually have north winds here in the rest of the northern side of the Caribbean. And that has actually led into some pretty pleasant conditions here. You know, certainly it's been drier air. When I bring on the water vapor imagery, you're going to notice that that red is on the tip of the Yucatan. A little bit of moisture is streaming through the southern sides of Quintana Roo and portions of Belize and Guatemala. There's still an onshore wind here, but there's not nearly the moisture quality that we had portions of last week that produced the heavier rain. So, you know, look, at this point in time, I'm not too concerned about things here as far as flaring up any showers. Before we move farther south, I have to talk about the weather in Bermuda. If you didn't watch, and those on Bermuda have to chime in the comments, if you didn't watch yesterday, there was a PGA golf tournament in Bermuda, and the winds were about 40 miles an hour sustained with some higher gusts. And these professional golfers are basically having to hit it on the ground rather than try and get it in the air. It was a funny thing to see some of the highlights with, but if you live on Bermuda, you understand the wind that has been a big story, and the winds are still quite blustery at the hour as well, and they'll continue to be that way. Look at the winds coming off the United States East Coast, so some fresh breezes near gale force back into the forecast. Few scattered showers and storms near the monsoon trough in the southwest sides of the Caribbean, but overall things have been a little bit quieter. The wind direction being out of the north has dropped down some of the precipitable water content or the moisture in the atmosphere for at least a brief time, so the rain chances have been a little bit spottier. Still nice brisk east winds here in the ABC Islands, trying to get a passing shower. I've got better rain chances for the ABC Islands coming up later this week. We've had a few here, but again, a live look outside the Eagle Beach area near Randstad. It's a gorgeous shot late on this Monday. Sun setting, of course, earlier this time of the year. You know, fresh wind, but nothing crazy out there as we wrap up this Monday. Friends, as we get into your island by island forecast and look at the tropics, quick second, if you don't mind hitting that like button for me. Thank you for continuing to watch the channel and subscribe if you haven't as of yet. Please join a fantastic community here. We appreciate you guys sharing this channel with your family and friends to just spread the word of the channel. That always means a lot to me. Those who are members, I thank you very much for that, and others who have found ways to support the channel as well. So looking at hurricane season so far, and yes, there is a very high likelihood, it's certainly not a guarantee, but it's a high likelihood that this is how we're going to wrap up the year. 13 named storms, 5 hurricanes, 4 of them major. Almost all of these categories are right at the bottom edge, if you will, of the range from NOAA for this year. So we had less named storms than what we expected, than what I expected as well. The hurricane count, though, and the major hurricane count was still very average. We were slightly below hurricane-wise, but friends, we did have 4 major hurricanes, including 3 Category 5 hurricanes, and the other one was a Cat 4. So we had 1 Cat 4 and 3 Cat 5s. So I've always said this, it only takes 1, right? You get hit by 1 and it was bad, who cares about how many were out there overall? But overall, the numbers were down a bit from last year, which were 18, 11, and 5. Now, we still have about 2 weeks left in hurricane season. I'll be monitoring the situation, but in the short term, there's nothing that I see that is likely to develop into anything tropically. Again, we really start to cut off the MDR, or the main development region of the Atlantic. You notice how all this moisture is developing in a west-east line. That is what we call the intertropical convergence zone, but it's very low latitude, and not a lot of that really gets energized and kicks up north. It can shove some energy into the eastern Caribbean, but it's typically never organized this late in the season. We can get some mid-latitude storms to develop here in the central Atlantic, but again, they're more hybrid systems. They're not truly tropical in nature. They can be big wind makers, but they generally move north and east, even east of Bermuda, and to kind of stay out in the open waters here. And we always monitor the western side of the Caribbean, as I did the last couple of weeks, but even that opportunity has come down a bit. We still have what we call the Central American gyre, which is that inherent spin over Central America and the monsoon trough. But even though that's likely to continue to activate some high rain chances, overall for actual organized systems, that appears very unlikely. And we really start to see a quick drop off in the potential for organized systems the latter half of November. We kind of, climatologically hold on to an okay chance through about November 10th, but then after that, things really start to fall apart very quickly. But again, it doesn't mean we're not going to get impactful weather. Our friends in Barbados will tell you about the weather they experienced this weekend and how it was just as bad as if a tropical storm had come through with the 9 inches of rain in some spots in some of the flooding. Unfortunately, we continue to be impacted by a broad trough with some lift in the atmosphere. So for all of the Eastern Caribbean, rain chances are going to remain elevated over the coming days. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the rain is going to be as concentrated over Barbados as it has been, but there will still be the chance that we could have some additional rain that could lead to more flooding issues. The Barbados Meteorological Service even talked about, look, the flash flood watches through Tuesday morning, but we might have to extend that, upgrade it back to a warning. It just depends on what falls here over the next 12 to 24 hours. But I have a feeling that we're going to have some additional rain in all of these areas, from Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, Nueva Esparta, and Barbados. No, it's not extremely concentrated, but there's a fair amount of green and yellow on this map, my friends, showing you again some kick, and we could even get some heavier rain back towards TNT in the next couple of days. This is an area that I do expect rain chances to go up, including the Port of Spain area. We'll have moderate rain chances for the central half of the Lesser Antilles, from Martinique, Dominica, and Guadeloupe. We get closer to the trough just north of the Leeward Islands, and rain chances will be elevated again for Anguilla and St. Martin and St. Bart's, Sabin, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda. Look again. You saw the radar out of Puerto Rico for today. There's a fair amount of spotted green on the map, but nothing very concentrated. And that's why I expect the next couple of days up here. But again, improving rain chances for Anegada and Virgin Gorda and Tortola, Jost Van Dyke, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Vieques and Culebra, and Puerto Rico. Could this lead to some isolated flooding? It's not out of the question. Generally speaking, I don't think the rain totals or the intensity is enough in a short term to cause some widespread problems as far as that goes. And hopefully no additional areas of concern for Haiti and the Dominican Republic, but rain chances should unfortunately be back on the rise in some of these areas that are desperate just to continue to see more light showers than anything else. Hopefully nothing very organized, but again, from Santo Domingo to Punta Cana on up towards Puerto Plata, your rain chances going up. Improving rain chances a little bit for Turks and Caicos. Southeast Bahamas will be a little bit drier, and anywhere north of there, you still have that weak boundary coming in, as I've mentioned. Now, some of this green is kind of moisture trapped in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. I really don't expect a lot of showers through the Bahamas over the next few days. So if you catch a passing shower, consider yourselves lucky if you want a couple of showers here and there. Jamaica's rain chances are actually pretty low for Tuesday, Wednesday, with a slightly improving rain chance on Thursday. And you can see that again, relatively dry Tuesday, Wednesday. As we get into our Thursday, we'll start to see those rain chances go a little bit higher. Might start on the northern coastal parishes to begin the day, and then some passing showers still with that trough line over the Cayman Islands, not completely dry. Same situation for Cuba. We'll kick some energy back over with, again, with that kind of northeast wind towards Cancun and Cozumel and Tulum, back down towards the San Pedro, Belize City area. So what I expect for coastal Quintana Roo, Yucatan, including, back over towards Belize and Guatemala and the Bay Islands of Honduras, Roatan, Utila, and Guanaja is fast-moving passing showers. Nothing extremely concentrated, right? You can see that green on that, but it's an onshore breeze as well. That wind could pick up a little bit, maybe in the 15 to 20 mile an hour range from time to time, but overall, sea conditions look pretty good. Not as much rain for the rest of Honduras and Nicaragua, still some spinning rain over Panama, but even Costa Rica is slightly drier here over the next couple of days. And for our friends at Bermuda, it's more about the wind than anything else, although a few showers could return into the forecast by midweek. So again, island by island, northwest Bahamas, 20 tomorrow with that weak frontal passage, and then even drier on Wednesday, Thursday, 30 for the southeast Bahamas tomorrow, 20 Wednesday, Thursday. Slightly improving rain chances Wednesday, Thursday, Turks and Caicos. Cuba's rain chances stay on the moderate side. I've got passing showers across the Cayman Islands. Not extremely concentrated, but this is an area where at least there's a chance for rain the next few days. And Belize City and Cancun and Cozumel, again, a few showers here and there. Jamaica's rain chances are pretty low Tuesday, Wednesday, back up to a 30 on Thursday. There's your slightly higher totals and rain chances for the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, 30, 40, even a 50% chance, up to a 60 in the Virgin Islands on Wednesday. Again, Bermuda is dry but very windy. And then here's your higher rain chances. Anguilla tomorrow, 70% chance for rain. St. Kitts and Nevis at 60%, still elevated on Wednesday and Thursday. Antigua, Barbuda, 70% chance for showers tomorrow, 50 Wednesday, Thursday. Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, it's a 60% chance for your area. Again, some locally heavy downpours are possible, and we'll stay with moderate rain chances through Thursday in most spots, tailing off a little bit quicker back down towards St. Lucia and SVG, but I've got Barbados in as a 60% chance tomorrow and Wednesday. Grenada stays with a 30 to a 40. Again, improving rain chances, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, up to a 60% chance on Wednesday. Suriname and Guyana with some high locally heavy rain for Tuesday as well. Nueva Esparta has some moderate rain chances. And here's a slightly better chance for the ABC Islands. Not a lot Tuesday, Wednesday, but a few more showers are in the forecast as we get into Thursday, and some of that could fall in the morning hours. Not a bad boating forecast. Again, from time to time, we're going to kick up some seas, especially in the Windward Islands, but elsewhere, this is not horrible for the Caribbean to have average wave heights of 4, 5, 6 feet, a couple of meters in a few spots. Yes, we'll have fresh winds towards Bermuda. Yes, we're going to have some fresh swells for the exposed waters of the Atlantic east of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, but all sheltered locations look absolutely fine. Even the Windward Passage, Mona Passage looks pretty good here. I think we're looking pretty darn good overall. So rainfall totals, look on the right-hand side of your screen. That's the impacts of that trough line, again, spreading in several inches of rain in locations. That other spinning trough produces your local heavy potential for the Cayman Islands and portions of Cuba. Higher rain chances and building that in later this week for the monsoon trough area of Panama and Costa Rica, building back up towards Nicaragua. But most other areas are a little bit drier. Could see a little bit more rain, northern coastlines of Hispaniola, maybe Puerto Rico as well. A little bit more of a northeast wind could drive in some of that moisture. Let me show you that on the GFS model. Again, nothing outrageously high, but when you look at the GFS model here over the next couple of days, and again, this just only goes out 5 days, still could see some pretty solid totals here over Trinidad and Tobago. Again, maybe 3.5, 2.5 to 3 near the shore or on the island itself, 1.5 inches over Tobago. Again, 25 millimeters is 1 inch, so 2 inches is 50 millimeters. Grenada, again, locally heavy possible there. Now for Barbados, let me be clear. This doesn't include anything that's already fallen through Monday afternoon. So the GFS model has an additional 2 inches of rain here coming up. That could put some of the rainfall totals in the double digits in inches. So still have some flooding concerns, hopefully not as widespread, hopefully overall coming down. But you get the idea, Tobeckway and Carriacou, 1.5 inches there. St. Lucia, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch in a couple of spots. And then we just follow that up where some of that could sneak back into and bring a couple of inches of rain to Dominica and Guadeloupe. Not as much rain up here in the Leeward Islands, but it's still some passing heavier downpours. Montserrat over 1 inch. There is our friends in Vieques and Culebra. They could pick up a quick inch of rain in a few locations. And there's that northern coastline of the Dominican Republic from Puerto Plata to Samana Peninsula. That again, 1 to 2 inches here. Hopefully not a lot more concentrated than that. Jamaica's rain chances, I mentioned the northeast coastline, might have a little bit heavier chance for a few spotty showers there. Some locally heavy downpours through portions of the Cayman Islands, right along the eastern Caribbean coastline of Central America, from Belize back down towards Honduras. Yeah, an inch or two. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy until you get back here. And again, is this going to fall offshore or is it going to stay right along the coastline? If it does, Panama is likely to see some additional quick flooding issues there on the northern coast. But, overall, you have a few active spots highlighted, I think, with the highest concentration of the most significant rain in the Eastern Caribbean for the next couple of days. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You can follow us across all of our social media platforms. We are on Indeed, on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. Send me a picture or video, and the easiest way to do that, myMediaMundo@gmail.com. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, thanks for liking and subscribing, and please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Wind, hail, hurricane damage of any kind, they'll walk you through the insurance claim process. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. You've got nothing to lose. Please check them out, leanonmelaw.com, for more information. Those impacted by the heavy rain, we wish you guys the best. Let us know how you guys are doing. And I'm back soon with the latest forecast for you right here at Meteo Mundo.